Hello, everyone, and welcome back as we dive into another Georgia Department of Education Community for Music Technology PD session. This, again, is another continuation of all the great discussions that we've been having about microphone usage. So we're going to hit a few review topics here off the top just to make sure that we're ingraining those ideas. You know, you have to say something 7 times, 7 different ways before anyone remembers it and understands it the right way. So I'm going to keep preaching some of these topics to make sure that we've got them. And the first one of those is your microphone levels. Do leave enough headroom when you are recording. There are tons of ways to make sounds louder in life, but there are fewer ways to make sounds of a better quality if they've already been clipped. So make sure that you are recording with enough headroom so that you're not clipping your signal. Again, that target riding range is somewhere around -18, with your peaks hitting no higher than -10. We talked a lot about phase in the last system. If phase is still perplexing you, I hope you're asking questions on the community, talking with people about what phase is and how to avoid it. But we covered that very heavily in the last video. So if you haven't watched that and you don't understand phase, then and you want more detail, get in there. But it's really important that the direction of your microphones be set in very specific patterns to avoid phase issues and get the fullest, biggest sound that you can without some instrument or sound source causing the elimination of its own sound waves by coming in a different mic at a different place. So today I want to get into a little bit more info about how exactly we would go about miking a drum set. I'm by no means going to claim to be an expert on this. I'm going to offer some research-based solutions that people have offered, some good first go-tos. This is not the end-all be-all way to go about miking your drum set. Do not think that there is this one way that you have to do it. The preference for miking a drum set is as vast as you could possibly imagine. It just so happens that these are going to be some good go-tos. So I think everyone wants to know, how am I going to get that kick drum mic sound? I know I struggle with it in my own room, and I'm just going to say that microphone choice in this particular scenario is maybe one of the most important things to getting that kick drum sound. You probably are going to own one microphone in your mic locker that is just to be your kick drum microphone. It probably won't sound good on anything else, but it's going to be your kick drum microphone. So the problem here is that the kick drum is creating such high levels of volume, or SBL, that sometimes it can be too much for a ribbon or a condenser or some more sensitive microphones. So you probably need a dynamic mic. Well, a dynamic mic is known for not having that much low end sound and occasionally falling off at the high end. So that's where the problem here comes into play, that we've got a good mic to pick up low end, or we can have a mic that's designed to handle the volume levels. So these mics have been tamed to be specific to a specific function. So the Shure Beta 52 is a great go-to if you want to get a good kick drum microphone. It's dynamic, but it is specifically tuned to be in that kick drum range. So if you want that, it's an easy one to pick up for sure. But I've listed here several others that you may want to consider that are tried and true kick drum mics for sure. So read reviews, find out which one seems to suit your needs and your recording style the best. The most common placement for the kick drum mic is to be right outside the cutout in the drum head. And that seems really strange at first when you start doing it. And hey, some drum heads don't even have a cutout. So a cutout is not like a standard thing that comes in a drum kick head. Some of them do, but actually most people are cutting their own hole at the location that they particularly like. So if your drum head doesn't have a hole in the resonant head, then you can seek out some pretty cheap options on Amazon for cutting that hole and getting it right, if that's something you're going to do recording. So they particularly like this for a lot of attack and a lot of low end. And you can even consider getting the microphone all the way in the drum through this microphone, this hole if you want. And the goal there is to like line it up right with the beater. So as you angle the microphone, you're going to want to angle it such that the wind might not come. The kick drum generates a lot of wind. You don't want to hear the sound of the wind on the diaphragm, so you might angle that diaphragm slightly so it breaks the wind sound, but you get that right in line with the beater. You're hearing exactly the thump of that drum. And you're going to consider combining this with a microphone outside of the bass, further away from the bass, again considering phase issues, to get a little bit more of that round bass sustain. Now, one of the most popular things to do on the back end of this from a production standpoint is then to cut in the 300 to 500 range by about 15 dBs. So you're taking a lot of kick drum out of that 300 to 500 range in order to get that more clearer sound. You still want the high end to hear the beater and the action of that head, but you want the low end oomph for sure, and that's down around like 60 hertz to be able to play with, and getting that nice round sound for sure. Snare drum and tom miking. Honestly, the Shure SM57 is one of the most commonly used microphones for this choice. So the microphone should be positioned about 1.5 inches above the head, about 2 inches inside the outer rim of the drum, and aimed down at about 25 degrees from the horizontal plane of the head. So this picture here is a good idea of what you want that to actually look like. And consider, like, you wouldn't really want this microphone to be placed like at the drummer's leg facing back toward the hi-hat, because then it's going to have a lot of bleed in it. So you actually want it to be facing a position that it's not going to pick up another drum. So you consider how you rotate it around the drum so that it eliminates the other directions of instruments that are coming. You can experiment getting the mic closer to the center of the head. This is going to pick up a lot more low end because of the proximity effect. It'll be darker, but it'll have less snare-like sound. As you move away from the center toward the rim, the sound of the drum is going to be more balanced between the head and the snares. So again, this is a starting place. I'm not saying it's the place. It's just a starting place. So begin to mess around with that. If you want to go for that secondary snare mic coming from the bottom, then go ahead and do that. But remember, you probably want to flip the polarity switch. Hi-hat miking. So you want to place the mic above the cymbal about 3 or 4 inches and about halfway between the center and the outer edge. So if you go closer to the end of the edge of the cymbals, then you're going to end up with a very cuppy sound that accents the opening and closing action of the mic. And if you put too close to the bell, then you're going to end up with a very pingy, what the sound when you hit the bell of the snare or the cymbal, you're going to hear that ping frequency really coming through. So again, consider where you put the mic and how you can kind of get a little bit away from the angle that the snare drum mic is giving you. Those are going to be the two that want to bleed the most. So generally you would complement that with some kind, if you're not, well, first of all, you could mic every drum and cymbal if you wanted to. If you've got enough microphones to have 9 to 12 microphones on your drum set, totally cool. Go for it. Don't worry about it. You're going to have a nightmare balancing everything out in your DAW potentially, but it could be fun. I say go for it. But if you only have a few more microphones to use, then consider miking from an overhead standpoint. Now, you could go at this from an XY pattern over top or an ORFT pattern over top, but consider where the center of the drum kit is not in line with the kick, but the center, as it goes across, as this diagram shows, the majority of the drums and the cymbals. So your angle then is going to have to be kind of distorted. The measurement point to be the center of the sound source is that top center of the kick drum across this angle. So remember that potential. You could A-B and go straight down at these two microphone points that I've shown. These would be overhead mics doing A-B straight down on the edges. Just remember they need to be equidistant from the center of that sound source in order to avoid as much phasing issues as possible. So if you have a 5 mic setup that you want to do, and you're doing this in your studio here, you can consider having a snare mic, a kick drum mic, a hi-hat mic, and 2 overheads. If you only want 4 mics, you only have the option for 4: kick, snare, and 2 overheads. So this is what's going to provide you the most flexibility in getting the exact sound that you want, because that kick drum can be tailored, the snare drum can be tailored, and the rest of the cymbals and toms are hopefully going to be used to the level that you can blend them into the mix the way that you want to with EQs and stuff. So that would be a 5 mic setup for recording on a drum set if you have a drum set around. Now, to mic an instrumental ensemble, I'm sure that we all wish we had the ability to go to Abbey Road Studio One and have this massive mic locker. By the way, if you've never gone online to Abbey Road's website and looked just at the mic locker for Studio One, you should. You'll be blown away by the sheer number of microphones they have. But of course, you could do that by micing every instrument. We probably don't have the ability to do that. So how do we get good ensemble sounds on fewer microphones? Many people are going to suggest the more microphones you put around the group, the better. This is not true because, as we've discussed previously, phasing issues can be a problem. Just slapping up more microphones does not equal a bigger sound. Please remember that as you're going for your ensembles. So with an ensemble, probably the straightforward, easiest way to go about this is the XY pattern. And as we talked about in the last, you can see you can cross the XYs over top of each other, or you can put them edge to edge, experiment and see which way you like the best. This creates a huge angle of good, high quality sensitivity area for the microphones. The microphones need to be set far enough back from the ensemble that the 90-degree angles the diaphragms hit somewhere on the third to quarter edge of the ensemble. So you don't want it the very outside person, but slightly in from the outside person to still get a good mic array. So this is like a medium, close to medium far positioning potentially. You're not right up on this ensemble. You're not super far away from the ensemble. But this works for 100-piece bands, or this works for small group ensembles where you have something like this. So you could have this XY pattern, which has been set up elegantly here in this picture, where you're getting somewhere you can see the microphones right in between the outside players and the inside players. You're just getting a nice big sound. Hopefully you're leaning a little closer to those outside players in this scenario, but that would be probably the go-to. And if you didn't do that, you would consider using either ORT, which is on the outside, the left side, or NOS, which is over here directly above my head. So that's the sound is going to be very similar, but the way you set it up is very different. Again, you're going open angles on the microphones, not closed, and either 17 centimeters apart if you're doing 110 degrees, or 90 degrees calls for 30 centimeters to be exposed. And then hard panning those microphones. XY, you're hard panning the microphones as well. So the other option here would be AB, but remember our 3-to-1 ratio rule. However far the distance is to the musical ensemble, the microphones need to be spread apart at 3 times that distance. So that can get pretty crazy. And if you can't achieve that, you're just going in the near range idea, like you're only setting the microphones 12 inches apart. Consider putting some kind of foam barrier down the center so that the microphones are actually not getting that direct transfer of wave between the two. So some kind of absorbing baffle, if that's the method that you're going to choose. And again, you can choose the Decatree method, which is very popular. 3 omnidirectional mics, hard panned on the back mic, center panned on the front, and the front mic should be right over the conductor's head. So this is a way to get a really cool sound, but they have to be omnidirectional, and you have to get the spacing of it right and the panning of it right as well. Really fun if you've got the omnidirectional mics to do it with, for sure. So thanks for coming out for this. Next time, we're going to be diving into how to mic a piano and your chorus. So stick around, join us for that one. Should be great fun. See you soon.